In July 1947, the world was thrust into mystery when the Roswell Army Airfield announced the recovery of a crashed flying disc near Roswell, New Mexico. Media frenzy ensued. The commanding general later downplayed it, citing a weather balloon. Yet the truth remains suppressed by the U.S. government.
In July 1947, the Roswell Army Airfield issued a press release stating that personnel from the field's 509th Bomb Group had recovered a crashed flying disc from a ranch near Roswell, New Mexico, sparking intense media interest. Later the same day, the commanding general of the 8th Air Force stated that Major Jesse Marcel, involved with the original recovery of the debris, had recovered only the tattered remnants of a weather balloon. The true facts of the incident have been suppressed by the United States government since then. You may not know that I was enlisted in the U.S. Women's Army Air Force Medical Corps, which was a part of the U.S. Army back then. I was assigned to the 509th Bomb Group as a flight nurse at the time of the incident. When the news of the crash reached the base, I was asked to accompany Mr. Cavett, the counterintelligence officer, to the crash site as the driver of his vehicle and to render any needed emergency medical assistance to any survivors, if necessary. I briefly witnessed the wreckage of an alien spacecraft, as well as the remains of several alien personnel aboard the craft who were already dead. Upon arrival, I learned that one of the personnel on board the craft had survived the crash, was conscious, and apparently uninjured. The conscious alien was similar in appearance, but not the same as the others. None of the other personnel present could communicate with the survivor, as the being did not communicate verbally or by any recognizable signs. However, while I examined the patient for injuries, I immediately detected and understood that the alien being was attempting to communicate with me by mental images, or telepathic thought, which projected directly from the mind of the being. I promptly reported this phenomenon to Mr. Cavett, as no other person present could perceive these thoughts, and the alien seemed able and willing to communicate with me. It was decided, after a brief consultation with a senior officer, that I would accompany the surviving alien back to the base. This decision was partly due to the fact that I was a nurse and could attend to the physical needs of the alien, as well as serve as a non-threatening communicator and companion. After all, I was the only woman at the site, and the only one who was not armed. I was thereafter assigned permanently to serve as a companion of the alien at all times. My responsibility was to communicate with and interview the alien, documenting all my findings for command authorities. I received specific question lists from both military and non-military personnel, which I had to interpret for the alien and record its responses. Throughout medical tests and various examinations conducted by personnel from multiple government agencies, I was the constant companion of the alien. For this unconventional assignment, I earned a promotion in rank to Senior Master Sergeant, boosting my security rating and increasing my monthly pay from $54 to $138. I carried out these duties from July 7th through August 1947, during which time the alien either died or departed the body, as detailed in my notes. Although never left entirely alone with the alien, due to the presence of military personnel, intelligence agency members, and other officials, I did enjoy uninterrupted access to and communication with the extraterrestrial being for nearly 6 weeks. Below is an overview and summary of my personal recollections from the conversations with the alien craft pilot, known by the identity Errol. In the best interest of Earth citizens, I believe it is my duty to disclose what I learned from my interactions with Errol during those 6 weeks, on the anniversary of her death or departure 60 years ago. Despite my role as a nurse in the Army Air Force, lacking expertise as a pilot or technician, and having no direct contact with the spacecraft or recovered materials from the crash site at the time or thereafter, it's crucial to consider that my understanding of the communications with Errol is based on my subjective ability to interpret the meaning of the thoughts and mental images I perceived. Our communication didn't involve spoken language in the conventional sense, as the alien lacked a mouth. Instead, we communicated through telepathy. Initially, understanding Errol was challenging. I could perceive images, emotions, and impressions, but expressing them verbally proved difficult. Errol, as a favor to me, learned the English language to enhance our communication. By the end of our interview sessions, and increasingly since then, I've grown more comfortable with telepathic communication. I've become adept at understanding Errol's thoughts as if they were my own. Her thoughts become mine, and her emotions become my emotions. However, this is limited by her willingness to share her personal universe with me, as she can be selective about the communication I receive. The symbol represents the domain, a race or civilization of which Errol, the interviewed alien, is an officer, pilot, and engineer in the Domain Expeditionary Force. It symbolizes the origin and unlimited boundary of the known universe, forming a vast civilization under the domain's control. Currently stationed at an asteroid belt base she calls a space station in Earth's solar system, Errol is herself first and serves voluntarily as an officer, pilot, and engineer. Please disseminate this material widely. My intention is not to endanger your life or necessarily expect belief, yet I sense you can appreciate the knowledge's value for those willing to confront its reality. Mankind needs answers to questions in these documents. Who are we? Where did we come from? What is our purpose on Earth? Is mankind alone in the universe? If intelligent life exists elsewhere, why haven't they contacted us? People must grasp the devastating consequences to our spiritual and physical survival if we fail to undo the pervasive effects of alien intervention on Earth. Perhaps this information can be a stepping stone to a better future. I hope you can be more clever, creative, and courageous in distributing this information than I have been. May the gods bless you and keep you. Chapter 1. My first interview with the alien. By the time the alien had been returned to the base, I had already spent several hours with her. As I mentioned, Mr. Cavett told me to stay with the alien since I was the only person among us who could understand her communication. I could not understand my ability to communicate with the being. I had never before that time experienced telepathic communication with anyone. The nonverbal communication I experienced was like the understanding you might have when a child or a dog is trying to get you to understand something, but much, much more direct and powerful. Even though there were no words spoken or signs made, the intention of the thoughts was unmistakable to me. I realized later that, although I received the thought, I did not necessarily interpret its meaning exactly. I think that the alien being was not willing to discuss technical matters due to the nature of her position as an officer and pilot with the duty to maintain the security and confidentiality required by her own unit or organization. Any soldier who is captured by the enemy in the line of duty has a responsibility to withhold vital information, even in the face of interrogation or torture, of course. But in spite of that, I have always felt that the alien being was not really trying to hide anything from me. I just never got that feeling. Her communication always seemed honest and sincere to me. However, I suppose you can never know for sure. I definitely feel that I shared a unique bond with the alien. It was a kind of trust or empathy that you have with a patient or a child. I think this is because the alien could understand that I was really interested in her and had no harmful intention. Nor would I allow any harm to come to her if I could prevent it. This was true too. I refer to the alien as her. Actually, the being was not sexual in any way, either physiologically or psychologically. She did have a rather strong, feminine presence and demeanor. However, in terms of physiology, the being was asexual and had no internal or external reproductive organs. Her body was more like the body of a doll or robot. There were no internal organs, as the body was not constructed of biological cells. It did have a kind of circuit system or electrical nervous system that ran throughout the body, but I could not understand how it worked. In stature and appearance, the body was quite short and petite, about 40 inches tall. The head was disproportionately large relative to arms, legs, and torso, which were thin. There were 3 fingers on each of 2 hands and feet, which were somewhat prehensile. The head had no operational nose or mouth or ears. I understood that a space officer does not need these, as space has no atmosphere to conduct sound. Therefore, sound-related sensory organs are not built into the body, nor does the body need to consume food, hence the absence of a mouth. The eyes were quite large, I was never able to determine the exact degree of visual acuity of which the eyes were capable.